YouTube, it's Amy, and I'm making an update because I haven't made one in 2 weeks. I think it's probably been exactly 2 weeks. Okay, so I have lots of things I think of during the days, the weeks, the hours to talk about or want to ask questions about and concerns with, but they always escape me when I get in front of the camera. And I'm staring at you and you're staring at me. It goes all out my head. Anyhow, I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to try to make a list next time. And this is me 90% of the time. My hair is usually back because it's easier. So I'm not looking pretty. I'm just looking. I'm gonna do a whole opera with just ums. Okay, so 2 things I wanted to update on. I am 2 pounds away with my last. I weigh in frequently just because it's interesting to me, even though I know that there is anywhere from a 48-hour to 72-hour difference between what you intake and what you output in your exercise, between what actually shows up on the scale. I mean, our body is just a mass combination of chemical reactions. And some chemical reactions are just not instantaneous, and they don't give us instantaneous results as we all probably would like. So I know logically, that there is what's the word I'm looking for? There is this leeway between what you eat and when you will actually see the outcome on the scale. So weighing every week is good, but I still have to have the thought in my mind that even though what I'm weighing this week is in a total sum of what products I've put in and output I've put out. I don't know if that made any sense at all to anybody else. Anyhow, my whole point is I weigh frequently just because it's interesting. And I weigh once a week, and those are the weekly results is what I take in. So anyhow, my point is I'm 2 pounds away from my pre-op goal weight. The goal weight that they set for me before I was to have surgery. I needed to lose 20 pounds. I have lost 18. I need 2 more to go. I think I would have lost more weight had I not had that stress fracture in my foot and was unable to work out. I was in a routine. I was actually enjoying the routine, but I had to not go. And I tried the water a couple of times, but it started to get cooler here again, so I only did it twice. And I don't think I get quite as an impact a workout with that, because I always do weight stuff and aerobic stuff. Anyhow, with that said, I'm going to go back to the gym this week. Well, it's Thursday, so at the end of this week, which is tomorrow. And hopefully the 2 pounds will be gone by next week or there shortly after. Last thing I wanted to update as far as my progress as getting to the goal of having the surgery was, God, I feel like I'm like tripping over words this morning. It's because I'm just now working on my protein shake. An interesting blueberry pineapple is what I made because they were the 2 fruits I had, so I put them in there. The last thing was my sleep apnea. And I've said this 100 times, I feel like. I had my sleep study. I found that I had sleep apnea. They told me I had to get titrated, so I did get titrated last week on April 11th. And I had my follow-up visit on April 19th, this last Tuesday. And I got my machine. So it's the lowest setting they can possibly have. So that's good news. That's the lowest setting. And I started it on the 19th. So I immediately called my bariatric surgery center to let them know I had my follow-up. I had my machine. I was starting that night. And she was saying, okay, she said, Jamie, she's my bariatric surgery center patient advocate, said I had everything done. I was all ready. She was going to gather all my information, and she was going to send it over to my surgeon's office, where Brianna, the surgeon's medical assistant, will proceed in the next steps in getting me towards a date. So that's awesome. And I know I won't have to wait the 30 days before they can book me for an operation date or surgery date. they can do it 30 days out from when I started the machine. So that's fabulous. So I may know my surgery date at the end of this week or beginning of next week. I hope. Knock on wood. Because just having a date will make me feel like I've set my, I have that, I've worked towards something and I've achieved it. And I wanted to say I've met some really fabulous new people, and it's great to see more people and get to make the journey with them. And I noticed there are some really brave souls out there, and I wanted to admit how chicken I am. I have not said my weight. Because I have this just inclination in my head that, not inclination, but this feeling that if I give my weight, then all this will come tumbling down. I know it's just ludicrous, but it's my thoughts. And so when I have my surgery date, I will spill the beans on the weight. But I feel people out there who are so brave for just, it gives you another bit of accountability by telling everybody right up front how much you weigh. And I want to get to that point, but I haven't yet. So, brave souls, you inspire me. I just haven't made that step yet. And the one question I really, and I have a feeling this might be a little longer than I would really like, but I have a couple questions. So I made my diet changes, in accordance with how my diet would change post-operatively, or I've tried to, and I've tried to rework their pre-operative diet to fit a sustained period, because I didn't know how long it would be before I would get my surgery date. And it's worked. I've lost weight. I've cut carbohydrates as far as like bread, pasta, starches, cookies and cakes and all that kind of stuff. So I changed my diet. I gave up caffeine and all this other stuff, and it's been wonderful. I don't miss the Diet Coke anymore. I know there was a video where, I said, I think about it. I don't think about it anymore. People drink it around me, and it doesn't. Actually took a sip of my husband's Diet Coke the other day, and it tasted disgusting to me. I never thought in the world I'd ever say that, but anyhow, that's good. So, with all these preoperative changes, here is the TMI part. If you don't want to listen, I understand. It's going to be about bowels, people. I changed these dietary habits, and my bowels did not move as frequently or as easily as they had normally moved. So, and I know that's because the diet change is, drastic, and this is the key point, is that a lot of fiber is tied into carbohydrates. Now, I know you can get your fiber without carbohydrates, but you can't get the number of fiber grams that you probably should without consuming some carbohydrates. So I did set a couple of days a week where I intake a little bit more carbohydrates, because I wanted to get some fiber in. And so, like, one of the things I got was like the Carb Balance Mission tortillas. I think they're Mission, because they're Carb Balance. I ate them when I was pregnant and I had gestational diabetes, and the Carb Balance is like, oh, I wish I had the package here with me. I'm going to go on the whim and say it's like 17 grams of carbohydrates, which seems like a lot, but it's like 9 grams of dietary fiber. Now, how could you go wrong with that? So, yeah, you're getting like 11 grams of carbohydrates, but you're getting that, not carbohydrates, but you're getting all that fiber. So that's awesome. But my question with all of this is, especially, pre-oppers like me, did you make these changes and the same thing happened to you? Post-oppers, oh, I would love it if you would all help me a little bit or a lot. I mean, you all help me all the time, but post-operatively, how do you get your fiber in? That is like my first question. And my number 2 question is, how much carbohydrates do you actually intake in a day? And I know that there's 2 fields of thought. There's people who actually measure all their intake, and people who don't measure all their intake. And I think either one, it works for whoever it works for. I'm not going from either camp. I'm just asking if you know I really just want a realistic point of view of how much carbohydrates you take in a day. Not because I want to see how much I can consume or because I want to, I want to get to the highest number somebody gives me. It's not for that reason. I know all the materials have said, I just really want to see how much carbohydrates people actually in reality take in a day and how that works with your fiber. And so if somebody would answer or private message me if you don't want it to be like a public announcement, I would really appreciate anybody who would share that with me. So that was a big thing. And then I also wanted to talk about indulging. And I don't know if you want to call it indulging, but like I said, I gave up cookies and candy and all that other stuff. Well, I have had bites of cookies. I did have a bite of my mother-in-law's birthday cake this last Sunday. And here's why I did it. Because I know psychologically that, and this doesn't occur for everybody. I feel like I say that all the time. But it's true. We're not all cookie cutters. We all don't fit in one box or in the same shape box. But I know psychologically for the good portion of society, if you say no to something, it's like giving yourself a backslide, because if you say no, what happens psychologically for most people is that in your head you say no, 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 and you stick to the no, no, no for so long, and you get to a certain point where you feel like you've deprived yourself, and all it takes is a small trigger where you go, okay, I'm going to have some, but because you've said no all this other time, and you finally had a little bit, what happens is you're willing to go a little bit more, because you think, people have this process in their head that if you say no and then you had some, well, you better have a whole lot, because as soon as you're done with this little portion or this little time of saying yes, you're going to have to go back to no again. So indulging a little bit along the way helps sustain your no. So it's not, I don't think anything's really a no. I mean, there's people out there who probably could say no and never go back to it. Just like with the Diet Coke I was talking about earlier. I haven't even wanted a Diet Coke. I was really thirsty, and I was taking a Tylenol to help my foot, pain in my foot, and so I needed something to drink, and I asked my husband, what is that? He said Diet Coke, and I just took a drink, a sip, and I was like, oh, that's disgusting. But if you don't give yourself a little bit of leeway, for those people who fall into this psychological pattern, if you don't give yourself the chance to have a bite of that cookie and be satisfied with that bite of that cookie, when you actually first want the bite of that cookie, you can actually set yourself up